Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 102 of A Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. Hi, for anyone who's new here, I realized I haven't done my regular introduction in a couple weeks, but my name is Megan. I am a mostly knitter, but also sometimes crocheter, and I also have been doing quite a lot of spinning lately. And once a week cross stitcher, living just north of Seattle in the lovely Pacific Northwest. I live with my husband Mike, our daughter Theo, our dog Winter, and my mom Cindy. And we have a lot of regular podcasty type stuff to cover. So normally in episodes, I cover what I'm wearing, which is often a new finished object, though not always. This week it is. And then I go over anything else I've finished, any whips I have, new cast-ons, spinning updates, books, and yarny thoughts and feelings and other things like that. This week I have less of that because I've had a lot the last couple weeks. I did stats last week, and then I had my 100th episode 2 weeks ago, which was really exciting. And yeah, actually I have just a couple things maybe to cover for flock this week in the early flock prep, and that's about all. So let's just go right to the start, which is what I'm wearing. I did finish this last week. It was everything but blocked, so I think I called it 90% done, which is a fair number because even though the knitting was done, I had to take measurements, well, block it, then take measurements, weigh it, put in notes. I still haven't put a picture in the Discord of the finish, but I did take pictures before this, so I have a picture which I'll put up after I stand up, and I'll show you all of the things per usual. So let's cover all of that stuff right now. I'm gonna start with just standing so we can look at the fit, and then we'll go into the stats and other things. Okay, so here we are. Looking pretty gorgeous, huh? I love it actually so much. So let me go over what I think about it, and then we could talk about what the size is supposed to be too. So I just I think it's so flattering for a raglan. I think sometimes raglans get to be a little bit too much fabric. I know that there's a trend for a lot of positive ease even in raglans, and I think that's a look, and that's definitely I have some, and that's okay, and they're pretty comfy, but I wanted something a little bit more close fitting for this. Partly because I really like how Claire's fits, which she still has the recommended ease is 2 to 6 inches, but she is also rather busty. So I think the way things fit just looks really nice, more fitted. And so I chose a smaller size so that it was closer to my upper bust would have a little bit of ease, but my bust would have less. And yeah, I don't actually have any waist shaping or anything in here, but I think just with the way the fabric is, it looks nice. So let's go through. Oh, look at these details. This is the raised line. You can really tell how raised it is when it's on, which is it's a pretty cool thing. This is on all her compass things. So there's a line here, there's a line here, and then the back. I guess I can show you the back really quick of this raglan. It's how a normal raglan would fit, you would think. I don't know. But it is, yeah, I don't know. I feel like just the way that where the shaping starts, it just sits really nicely. I did put horizontal bust starts in here. I'm too short. You can kind of see them right here. And I only did a few, so it's really kind of you're supposed to do it sort of at the fullest part of your bust, which is where they start. And so it's creating just this little wedge of fabric right here. That's a kind of a scoop. And I didn't do that many, so it's maybe only this many rows. Honestly, it's just this under part, so that as it sits a little bit closer to my body, it's not super raised in the front from where it is in the back. I mean, I think I didn't put a ton in there, so there's still a tiny bit of raise, but I think without them it would be this, and that would be not my favorite. That's not my favorite. I like when it fits evenly or more evenly across. Arms are really good circumference. I don't have really, it's like kind of zero ease, maybe a tiny bit of positive ease at the top of my arm, but pretty fitted throughout the bottom, which is nice. I think it's like, I don't know, I just think it's so cute. So cute. Okay, and this color, is this not everything? Look at it. It's amazing. Just these little flecks. It's exactly how I thought it was gonna knit up, but you know, it's even better when you're like, it's the whole thing like this. Neckline was the one thing I was playing around with because it was about this tall without being folded over. The mock neck was nice, but I think just like with the shaping, having it folded is something I'm more likely to wear. So yeah, slightly thicker hem and cuffs than like the collar is, which is I think fine because that would be maybe too high folded over. There are a lot of people that did this not folded over because they don't, you know, they don't want the extra fabric. I don't think this is gonna make me like a lot hotter having just like DK weight folded over. This is a DK weight sweater. I think the fit is incredible. I love it. I think it's so cute. Okay. That's all for that. Let me sit down. Let's go through some stats and numbers about that then. So this is supposed to be a size 5, which is 46-inch bust. Recommended ease is 2 to 6 inches. Again, I used more of my upper bust measurements, but she does have in here, which I think was like maybe 43 for this size or something like that. And then you were supposed to, yeah, so I think I did, that's like an inch of ease. Anyway, so I still did less positive ease overall, but closer for upper bust. And then I used 4.5 millimeter needles for the body and 4 millimeter needles for the cuffs, which is what was recommended in the pattern. This is Witchfire Fibers Classic DK in the color Take It Off from her Maas Made Me Cry collection. This is 100% superwash yarn, and it is $231 for 100 grams. So like a typical DK. I realized as I was making this, or maybe I was like looking at sweaters the other day, but I only have 2 DK weight non-fluffy sweaters. So like I have a bunch of fingering and a fluff held together sweaters, but I have 2 that are just DK weight. I mean, and now I have like the sea glass, but that's DK color work. So I wouldn't count that. So this in my alchemy, and that's it. And I definitely want a couple DK. I guess I have 1 DK non-superwash. I have 2 of those. They are warmer. So like I think still on the books for next year's, I'd like a couple fingering weight long sleeves because I do think we have a pretty long transitional periods here. Sometimes it's nice to wear something not quite so warm, but I also like this over a worsted weight is really different. Like, I mean, it's July here and it's been a really warm week, but I am sitting in my office and I'm not feeling very sweaty or hot or anything. And so I'm gonna take that as a great thing. Granted, we have air conditioning in our house, just not downstairs. So it's been cooler in the house overall, but still it's nice. I think I might have some more of these in my future. Maybe not just superwash yarn, maybe some more different types of non-superwash, but I do kind of I love this. So overall, let's rate this pattern and yarn. So this is the first time I've used this yarn for myself. I did a sample for Jess from Witchfire last year for Flock, which was the sheep camp, in this yarn. This yarn is very soft for a regular superwash yarn. It's got a really rounded texture, so I very much like it. I think it's great for, you know, little details like this. It was really great for color work too, so big fan, would use again. This color is everything, so obviously I don't know that I need a lot of things in it, but this would kind of be fun one if she brings it back like in a few years for me to do this for fingering weight something. Anyway, I really enjoyed making this. I thought that the raglan flew by pretty fast, actually. I used that little trick to keep, I did helically knit this entire thing, including sleeves, and I used that little trick to just keep the yarn in one quadrant between a raglan and the back line, raised line, and that was, which is where the BOR is, which was really great. I did helically knit the sleeves and I didn't do that, so I just let them go round and round because that was easy to keep track of. Though it is a little harder when you do decreases, so if that's going to confuse you, I would also just keep your line somewhere on top, like within this section here or something. But let's see what else. I just really enjoyed it. I thought that this was a like really fun, and it went so fast knit. I have a lot of weeks until this is due. This is not due until like September or something. So there's all of August left in July. So I'm going to be one of the first people to be done with it this time, which is not really on purpose, but I was reading the book while I was doing this. So that was also really, really fun to do. And I don't know that I have many other like this exact book in this read, which I did sort of do with Lord of the Rings when I was doing the stripes last year. But yeah, it was really fun to only do those together. So I have yarn for the worsted weight version of this, and I think I would make that because I really like the fit, and I would just key into the fit of that. And like, I don't know that she has the bust darts section in that, but I would put those into a worsted as well. So I think that's really nice that she's giving the tools for some of these things that I don't know, she'll go back and adjust all patterns to include those, but like, it's definitely something you can just swap in, especially because these instructions that she gives you are sort of more of like a template for you to think of, especially for a horizontal. She gives you the math for the vertical if you're going to add a little bit extra room in your bust. If you do want like a closer raglan and the same amount of ease over your bust. But for the horizontal, it's just a link to a blog that gives you some information on like where to start them based on like how your chest sits, like different sizes. Also, like you could include these for if your like your stomach is a little bit bigger than your chest. Like you can kind of use this same template for anywhere, just to make the largest part of your body fit the fabric better. So anyway, so I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. This is one that I would actually do again too. So like, I thought that it was fun to make. It was easy to make. I think there's a lot of ways you could adjust this, both in fit and like neckline or finishings, like slightly different ways to do, like you could do longer cuffs, you could do shorter cuffs. Anyway, not that there's that many things to change, but I think this like so basic with this detail that it looks really nice in variegated yarn, but it also looks really nice when your yarn is like tonal or like a commercial yarn that would be like all really one color, because this line would really, really pop then. So I would do this in like a bright or a light color and be happy with that as well. So yeah, something to think about for the future. I don't know how it would be. I think it would probably be fine if you did it with a fluff, as long as it wasn't like maybe a heavier suri, but you could do it with like a light suri or mohair, and I think you would still see this line potentially. Okay, let's go through. So this was already finished. Measurements really quick. So this took exactly 500 grams of yarn when I weighed it post blocking. So that's fun. My final measurements, I need to put a couple more notes on my Ravelry page for Claire, but I did end up with a 45-inch chest when laid flat, which tracks. My gauge is pretty dead on, but like I think the way that I blocked it without any kind of stretching, so like I probably could have gotten that inch if I had measured to block that way, but I did not. The body length from underarm to hem measured along the front is 11.5 inches, so I think that's really where it sits on me, but having that little extra space, so it sits closer to the body. My full length from shoulder to hem is 21.5 inches. The arm length is 18 inches, and this does sit not super close to it's pretty close to my armpit, like less than an inch away, I think, from my armpit. So that's a good length without being too long for something that is closer fitting. My bicep circumference was 15 inches. So yeah, overall really pleased with this. And now we'll go on to we'll go cast on order as usual. So here's the next oldest thing. And this is my Nordlies knit, which is a color that all of my knitting group here, Pacific Knit West, we are all knitting together. I did do some sleeves this week. So here is a sleeve, and you can see this is the Amoretta Blouse by Isabella Clark, who is 100 Acre Wool. And you can see there's like, I did the little crochet scalloped edging. I did try this on for the first time last night since I finished the sleeves. Like I tried it on when sleeves were right before I started sleeves, just to see where the cap sleeve ended. The instructions for short sleeves is literally to pick up and knit one row and finish your cap sleeve, and then do the edging, whatever your chosen edging is. that to me was still too short. That's kind of like a baby doll sleeve, which is fine. I think that's like a look, but I want a little more coverage. So I added about 2.5 inches of straight stockinette knitting, and then I bound off knitwise and then picked up and did the scalloped edging with a crochet hook. I did that a little bit tight. So this is a good lesson because I can rip this out if I really need to. I have plenty of extra yarn, and I will have plenty of extra yarn, but I'm going to block it first and see if I can just, it's not tight. It's just like, it's the bound off edge. It's not the scalloped edging. So, and it's also, the scalloped edging is flipping quite a lot. So I think I'll kind of aggressively pin this part and pin it a little bit so that it's stretched out at the edge a little, so it's not so tight. I mean, my arm does taper a little bit, so it's not like, it really isn't very tight. I just don't want it to pull the shirt down at all. So those are both done. Both arms are done. Then this is where I was on the body. So I've done quite a lot of body. So as a reminder, I mean, you can see the picture that was up before, but this is a like scoop V-neck. And I am going to do the picture that I put up. I'm going to do though like a non-functional faux button band over top after I finish the body. So I am past the point of the pattern body. Honestly, the pattern body was like here at this little white stitch marker, and it said 9 inches, right? And so I put this on right before that, like 2 rows before that, and I was like, okay, 9 inches. 9 inches with bust, because of how this is fitting, I kid you not, was like fully 3 inches above my belly button. I was like, okay, that's not just cropped, that's like minuscule, and I don't really like, it's a lot just like the fit plus that length. So I am now at 12 inches, and I'm going to do a try on later tonight probably. I think I'll still add another few rows because I still think this is going to be a little bit short. Again, I have plenty of yarn, so I'm going to get it to the length I want it. Then I'll bind off, and I'll probably just bind off even more loosely. I did my bind off with a crochet hook, and even if I size up crochet hooks, sometimes that does get a little bit tight. I hate binding off knitwise. I never do it. I never bind off in pattern because I just think you don't get the stretch that you need for a shirt to get over your head. So but I'm going to do it because I want the scalloped edges on this, and there's not really another way to do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just be really careful. Maybe go up, like, this is a 3.75 millimeter needle. So maybe go up to like a 5 millimeter for the bind off edge. And because I'm doing the scalloped edging, and I think the scalloped edging itself, like, I don't think that is a stretch issue. I might go up 1 size for the body scalloped edge though, because the sleeve is like, it's tight on that scalloped edge. And also because this is truly like a fully in you know, like, it's not a button, so I'm not going to get any kind of like leeway with the button opening a little bit at the bottom if I need it around my hips, which is also, I'm making this a little bit longer so it'll go closer to my hips, which are wider. This is less ease, all the things. Maybe that does mean I'll end a little bit early. I'm okay if it ends like right at my belly button, because again, I usually wear high-waisted pants, and then that's like kind of close to my natural waist, so I mean that's pretty much my natural waist, so I won't have like I don't need to do any increases out to flare out, and I'm not going to do that anyway. Anyway, so this week I would really love to be done the body, bind off, and finish the button band. I may not finish all the edges by the end of the week, or like by this time next podcast, but flock is coming soon, and this is our group knit. So everyone in my knitting group is knitting this color, so we'll all have different tops, but in this color. It's funny because we usually talk about what we're knitting, like gonna knit, but not everybody had plans. Like the last time somebody posted in the Discord or at Knit Night, we were talking about it, and like maybe only Charlotte and I were cast on, and then everybody cast on within like a week or two from that, and nobody picked the same thing. And not that they were all consulting each other. So I think that's like kind of fun that we really do all have our own taste and style. But I think Emily is like going to be done hers really soon. Ariel's probably done hers. I don't even remember what Sylvan is knitting with her. So yeah, so and like Charlotte has done hers. I think she was done first. So we are all getting there to be able to wear them at flock. So if you see us wearing this color, come say hi. Okay, let's go on. Oh, to sizing really quick for that, just so you know. That is a size 5 also, which is a 44-inch bust. Recommended ease is 0 to -2 inches of ease. I'm using 3.75 millimeter needles for the body. Like I said, I think that's the same size crochet hook I use as well. And that ZZ Textiles Nordlys in her silk sock, which is an 80/20 superwash merino sock blend, 400 yards, 400 grams. It's a 2-ply. It knits up and feels a lot like Denali sock, but like silkier and a little bit smoother. But it has quite a, like, I think it'll block out, but it has a little bit of that pooling, that like lines. I don't know. I feel like you can really see the stitches, but yeah. I am like really enjoying it. Again, I have so much yarn left over, so I'm going to be totally fine. Let's go through my next cast on, which is about the mini Battenberg here, which is a gift knit and on my Make 9 gifts for my daughter. And I did a lot this week. Let me pull out some of these balls of yarn. Okay, so here's the big thing I did. I won't pull them all out, but I'll pull a couple. So I finished all of my squares and I sewed in all the edges. We were watching The Bear this week, and so I did this during an episode, just sewed in all the edges. It was quite a lot. It was more than one episode. So these are all done. So I have 44 of these little squares completed. And then I went on and I think I did 7, 8, at least 6. No, I think I have 7 of these little guys done, and that's almost half. So I just have a half more to do of these half squares. So it's literally just half the pattern. I think I could probably do something when I sew it down to like make that look flatter across. It's not going to matter because it's going to get edging all around it anyway. So I mean, these go fast. They're half the square, and I really think take just about half the time. So yeah, just a couple minutes per each of these. So I'm going to finish all of those this week, and then I only have 2 triangles. So then I'll be doing all the squares this week plus sewing in edges. So I'm ready to start as soon as I feel ready to start putting it together. That might be right away. That might be a little bit of time. I will not block them all individually because this is going to do a join as you go. And they're not just being sewn down together where you really do want them to not curl. This is like just not going to matter. So I am not going to do that. I have my gray yarn upstairs all ready to go for joining those. So I'm excited for that. I think it'll be really nice once I see it. I'm also going to lay this out probably on the floor this weekend, maybe if I finish those squares, to just there's pictures in the pattern. This is from the Mini Palm magazine. Oh, this is, sorry, by the way, this is a pattern by Gina Fama Rockenwagner. And anyway, so in the pattern really nicely, there are like illustrations and it tells you how they are formatted, but the illustration is nice because it shows you like the back and the sides are the same for the front, for you to lay these out. So same for sleeves. I'm just going to kind of lay them out so I can make sure that there's a good mix of colors all throughout, because I have less colors than the pattern says, and I just don't want to, I don't really want them next to each other if I can help it. So I'm going to see what I can do to arrange. I'm not going to run out of yarn. So also even though I did like pretty even split of the colors for the squares, if I feel like just it's not working out, I can always make another like half squares, especially to make sure that they're, you know, not touching if I need different colors. So that's what's in this bag, and that is coming along. I am making the 4 to 6 year size, which I think is like 27 or 28 inches, which is quite large. I mean, this is definitely a positive ease thing. It's supposed to be oversized for a kid. She's probably 21 or 22 inches around. Anyway, so, but yeah, I'm using a 3 millimeter hook for all of that. And I think it's just the same throughout the entire thing. So we'll see. I love join as you go, and it's really fun to see them join. So I may like this may go a lot faster than I had anticipated, which was end of August is what the timeline I set for myself. So I already think that I've cruised through the square faster than expected, just because they really haven't taken as much time. as I thought that they would, which is great because I have a couple other things I'd like to make her before her birthday this fall. So let's go through my Queen's Cami, which is my second knit for the PKW Flock U knit along, which is what I am hosting with Emily and Ariel, who are part of my knitting group here, Pacific Knit West. You can really see it's coming together. I'm right on for gauge. This feels, I don't know, it feels like wide, but it's definitely going to be more drapey in the body. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, than how it's going to fit in the chest. I just went down a needle size. I'm not quite done my first ball of yarn, close-ish, but I think I'll get, you know, a good amount through the, I don't know how much I have left of this. The transition is supposed to be like an inch or an inch and a half. I might do a little bit more than an inch, just even if it says an inch, because I can, just to give myself even a little bit more length. But I will switch pretty shortly in like maybe 4 rows or less to the smallest needle, which is what will finish up the chest measurements, and we'll bring this in a little bit. So this pattern is by Tori Yu, who is Tori Knits MIC, and it's all the same stitches throughout, but you use 3 different needles and it's bottom up. So that's how you get the drape. It's not a peplum exactly, but it's definitely like, it looks as if you had increased some stitches to give yourself a little bit more room in the like under bust area. But that's all an illusion, which is nice because it's not more stitches, because that would be a lot and I wouldn't love that. So yeah, it's coming along. This, you can see though, I did the short rows in the back, so it does have the curve. This is, I mean, I'm like right towards the front, so like this is how it would sit. So yeah, I'm a fan. So far. So this week, I mean, I think last week I wanted to finish the first ball of yarn, but I really wanted to get to that transition, which feels good. And it's like manageable. I think you do like an inch and then like 3 inches or something like that for the chest before you do whatever kind of things. Because I have a lot of yarn left over, I'm not feeling stressed about giving myself a little bit of, just with the shaping and stuff, I think it'd be okay if this was like a little bit longer of a top. I don't want it to be too long, but anyway, I am making a size 4. I'm making a size 4, which is 40 inches. The recommended ease on this is 2 to 4 inches of negative ease around the bust. My bust is about 46 inches, but I care more about my upper bust. So even though this will, you know, have some decreases to account for that, I would still rather have a little bit extra because I have a big difference between my upper bust and my bust. So that's the choice I made. I'm sticking with it. I think it's going to be a good fit. That's also a little forgiving if I'm tiny bit off gauge, because I did not gauge swatch at a 3.25 millimeter, which I think is what the needle I'll end on. I have recently done a lot of 3.25 millimeter knits, so I believe I will be fine on gauge, but I've not done it with this yarn. So it's all a belief and a dream right now, but I'm okay with it. Okay, so but yeah, so that's what I am doing for that. And that is using linen sock from Explore Knits and Fibers, which they don't always carry. I think a lot of collections have had it recently, but this is from the Farmers Market collection last year in the color Beet Juice. And I love this color. It's so bright and fun. So excited how that's coming along. We have 3.5 weeks until flock, so, or less than that. So we don't have a ton of time because I'd like to get that and Amoretta done, but I think I'll be fine if I just like kind of focus on those, plus getting my July socks done. I got some other things on the needles though, which I am excited about. Let me jump to July socks before I tell you what those new things are. So last week I had just started this, I did decide on self-striping yarn, which was outside of my year of socks plans. I had like picked all the skeins ahead of time, but these ones were for me, so I just subbed it in. This month was for me anyway, so I subbed it in. And I'm mostly doing gift knit socks for anyone who's new and doesn't know what I'm talking about. Me and Emily, Ariel, Katie, and Maya's doing less frequent, like I think she's trying to do 6 socks this year instead of 12, but we all picked 12 sock skeins we wanted to get out of stash by using in a pair of socks. So this is, I just really love this color so much. I think it's so fun. So this is where I was last week. I had done the toe of both of them were done, and I had done just a little bit of like started the repeat. I this is a toe up heel flap and gusset sock, so I did the heel flap and gusset for this, and I am mid gusset for this one. I did all the way to, and I cut the yarn, so I did all the way to where I don't want these to be very long, but I am going to do a slightly longer 1x1 cuff if I can with the yarn, but I don't know how much silver yarn I'll have left over. So what I decided to do was just cut and then start, and I ended midway through a pink repeat so that I could just go right into the pink repeat without having to, you know, rip all of this yarn off and then start. You know what I mean? So I started this. I think I did 6 of the gusset, so I have like 10 left increases. I will say I really love a toe up sock with a heel flap and gusset. I think the gusset part is hard because increasing, even though it's literally the same thing as doing it down like number of stitches, but I think it just like is a mental game to get through that. But I love not having to pick up stitches along the side. I think it just looks cleaner. I think it also feels sturdier. I did tell you this, I thought that the cup, like the heel flap part of this would be a little bit thicker, and I do think it is. I think it looks really cute from the side. It just, sometimes they look really skinny, so that this where the silver is, like, looks like it goes back a little bit because there's just not that much sock there. But I think she does like a really good job of this. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know. I'll put my foot in it next week because hopefully they'll be done so you can really see it. They are a little bit short. I really honestly think like 2 rows short. I'm still messing with my formula here. It's hard to tell because you're like 4.5 inches before you need to start before the end of your heel. I wanted a little bit of negative ease on the length of the foot as well as the circumference. Their circumference is 64 stitches, which I'm normally doing a 72 stitch sock, and I'm always thinking they're too floppy. So I'm just making the decision. A couple of people did respond and said like 68 stitches is great if you're like in the middle. And I'm like, yes, this is true if you're in the middle. I'm going to see how I like this. And if this feels a little too tight, then I think I would do that next. And at least my next pair of socks is not for me. So, and going back to, I think I have like 3 in a row that will be gift knits. So I can decide how I feel about these before I make any more for me. But yeah, so I am a big fan. I think this is like excellent. This may also be the pattern I use for my sister-in-law. She's got the only other self-striping sock for this year. And she picked like a purple, yellow, and pink one. I think that might also be white birch. Anyway, this is white birch fiber arts. I don't remember what the mix is. I think it's just like an 80-20 sock. And this is called Release the Kraken, the color. I'm not sure why, but I love it. It's great. It's a fun color. Yeah. Excited. So anyway, I will hopefully, you know, get all the way through. I'm even further than I was last week. So I don't see any reason why I wouldn't get through all of the rest of this sock. And then I may just use up all of that silver yarn, depending on, I mean, I guess it depends on how much I have left. I will do middle and outside pool for it though, and I will like just go back and forth and probably add like an inch and then see where I am, then just keep going. If it's more, I don't want more than 2 inches for a cuff. I just don't think I would have enough quite for that. And we'll leave enough to be able to do it, you know, sew and bind off for both of them. So here we are. I don't know, these are the fronts. Okay, little sockies. I have not talked about this in a while because I did not do this for like my last sock, but I do enjoy this like concurrent knitting. I don't like 2 at a time socks on one needle because I think that it's annoying, especially if you are using one ball of yarn. And I don't like to split my sock yarn, especially because I'll show you how much I have left over of this sock yarn. I'm not going to even use, like, maybe I'll use half of it. So I'm going to have a ton left over. And I don't want to weigh out 50 grams and 50 grams and then have 2 small balls to work from. So I'll decide what I want to do with this later. But yeah. They almost exactly match my Queen's Cami. I think it does, really. The pink like exactly matches, so that's fun. And some days I'm just feeling like I'm doing a lot of pink knitting, and I like it. That is also the basic sock from Rania Grabska, who is Comfort Zone Knits. She has a free pattern on Ravelry. I linked that below. It is both toe up and cuff down if you want to pick your poison for that. Again, I like how she writes her heel flap. Like, that's a weird thing, but it's just a plain heel flap and gusset otherwise. And I think it's just a good formula. I've had good luck with the fit of the socks that I've made from her, which the other one is the Krufka sock, which has just like the little eyelet detail on top. But yeah, so far, so good on these socks. Okay, let's go through what's next. Okay, I cast on Friday or Thursday. I think it was Friday. I cast on another gift make 9 for my daughter Theo, and I told you I was going to do this, and I certainly did, and it looks so little. And it's got a ton of stretch. Mike was like, is this a hat? It is about the same amount of stitches that you need for a hat, actually. So like, I could totally wear this as a hat if it doesn't work out for a top, but this is the ripple crop top mini for Theo. The pattern by Jessie May for the mini version, or it's called the little ripple crop top. I realized this week as I was looking through it, because I did look at measurements before, like, that's fingering weight. This isn't gonna work anyway. This is a worsted weight yarn. This is Carlsbad worsted from Explore Knits and Fibers, which is like a 218 superwash, 218 yards for 100 grams, 100% superwash yarn. And the color is Sagrada Familia from her Spain collection, which I got a few years ago. I got this at Rose City Yarn Crawl last year, 2024, and which was my first Rose City, and I saw this on the table, and it's just the most fun, exciting, lovely, colorful, Easter eggy type gorgeousness. And I knew that I would not want to wear it. This is not a color that tickles me, but it like to wear, but I love it for her. I do think this is stretchy enough. This is supposed to stretch quite a lot, and I will block it a little bit stretched, but I do want it to be, you know, like, it's okay that it is a little bit tighter on her. I am going to do potentially a sleeveless version. I have a lot of yarn left over. I mean, I have a lot of yarn at this point, but I do think I'm probably a little over halfway done the body for her. I'm gonna make this a little bit longer. I might make it like more tunic-y length, like well past her butt, so that she can grow both length and width into this. That would probably be the smartest decision from me. So even though it's just knitting and knitting and knitting for this in the round with nothing happening, that's okay. I do need to measure. I will make this sit a little bit lower on her for the armhole shaping, but there's very little armhole shaping on this. You kind of just do chest shaping. Like, once you stop, there's not a lot of into the armhole, because they're supposed to be sleeves, and I think I'm okay with that, because I don't think I'm gonna add sleeves right now, but I will have extra yarn to do that for her if she wants it, and I can ask her. But for right now, I might just do like just an I-cord edge to finish it, even though it looks okay, really unfinished. Just if I remember correctly from when I made my own. And I think that this neckline is just unfinished too. So like, that's okay for me if they match. So I need to just do a couple measurements to figure out how long exactly I want to make those two pieces. And otherwise I will just knit to the adult extra small size pattern for the most part, just knowing that this is the piece where I will shorten so that it does not sit as far down her chest, because she does not need it to be very low on her neckline. So I'll measure where I want from her shoulder to have her the V start, and also from her underarm. So here we are. It's so cute and little. It's not, I mean, it's the number of stitches of a hat, so I really imagine I'll be done with this pretty quickly. I just am kind of avoiding doing the math right now, so I just stopped here this week, because also that was the time I had to work on this, wanting to get some of those fingering weight things done and not just hop over to the fun worsted weight thing. So yeah, super pleased with it so far. This is like just such a forgiving, squishy fabric. I cast something else on this week. And again, so I'm just really knitting an extra small of the regular ripple crop top for that. So we'll see how that goes. I did solicit everyone's opinion for this next project, And I overwhelmingly got the nobody told me I was crazy, which I don't know if you guys are right. Starting this mid-year, but I am doing it anyway. Here is my little book snake. He has started. He is very cute. He's gonna be a he because this is the culmination of all my book boyfriends this year, so we'll just call him he. Maybe I'll name him my favorite book boyfriend from the year once we get there, which I'm not going to tell you who's a front runner right now. There's a lot of year left. I can't commit either. Very cute. So Book Snake. This is The Book Snake by Han Lee. Her name is Hannah, but I think that's how her Instagram profile goes. But I am not going to do a jogless stripe. This is something I'm just telling you right now. So you will see stripes on the back, but I just cannot be bothered. I also think like the integrity of the fabric, especially for that 2-stitch stripe, it needs to have the two, like it just needs to have all the stitches. So because this is going to be stuffed, when I sew in ends, you can kind of like pull up your last stitch a little bit so it's a little less obvious, but I have not sewn in any ends yet. I think what I'm going to do is like, I don't want it to be too far away. So I think I'll probably do 3 stripes, sew in all the ends, 3 stripes, sew in all the ends. And once you get to like maybe 6 stripes is when I'll start stuffing more down. I just stuffed a little bit in the head so I could see what he looked like. He's very cute. And you could do the tongue at any time, but it was like part of the beginning finishings when you do the eyeballs in 2. I did get new safety eyes for this because I didn't have any large enough and the little ones looked real strange. And I was like contemplating, I redid the head twice. So first I did it per pattern, knowing that I would be off gauge because I'm holding fingering double, which is like a light DK in my book when you gauge wise. He was just too small. And I was like, okay, if we get to 20 stitches around, like this is going to be the tiniest, skinniest little like weird snake thing ever. And I was like, I don't really love that. So I did some math for gauge and I decided to go up to, I don't remember what number of stitches I had across, but I did like 4 extra increases. So at least 8 stitches, maybe it was 10 stitches more across his face. And my stitch gauge was off too. So this is about the measurement wise of her snake. So that's what I wanted to just get to measurement wise. And then I did the decreases and I did decrease down to 28 stitches instead of 20 around, which I think is good. I think this is a good, this will be stuffed wise, like be a good size snake. And that's not that many stitches, y'all. Like it doesn't take very long to do a stripe. I've only got 2 down right now. And I am going to record. This is how I've decided to do this. First of all, so I don't miss any books and know which one I ended on it and everything, is that I've just pulled my Storygraph so far into an Excel and I'll just add to it every couple of months because right now I'm going to just be playing catch up. I went through on Storygraph 2 and I looked at covers and I picked yarn based on a predominant color or something like a feature color in the book cover. So I will tell you what these 2 are, and we can go down memory lane real fast here. So this is called, and I kid you not, the first book, this is like meant to be because I've read a couple of books about snakes or snakes in the titles this year, but the very first book I finished this year on January 1st was called The Anaconda Downstairs. How perfect is that? Come on. Like I had to do it this year. So that's a book by Amy Award, one of her, I don't even know what the series is called. It's like about brothers who are football players. This is a pretty close color to the brothers' jersey, which I'll put the picture up here. Okay, this next one was actually maybe the hardest one. I actually have two of these books. This from this series I found really hard to pick colors for. This is and this one I just found so hard to match. Okay, so this is called Paladin's Strength, which is the second of the Saint of Steel books, and I'll put the picture up here too. There are just like reds and oranges. And I have some other colors that maybe, but like I have a little bit of this like Pike Place leftover, which is also a DK, but I would maybe want to hold it. It's pretty thin, but I don't know. There was something about like the tones of the different things. And I thought that this color was a little closer to the bear that's at the top. So this is what I picked, and it's a tweed. So anyway, what I'm doing in my little document that I have started, it's just a sheet on Google Sheet, is that I pulled all the titles of the books, and then I put in the color of yarn that and sometimes I know the color name, but like this is a blue I got from Sylvan. I don't know, it's just blue. But then the weight, so fingering weight, so I would know if I held double or not. And I am weighing it before and after, so I can still give myself a pretty accurate measurement of how much yarn I've used for this over the year. This will be interesting to go along and do. So I did my own thing for making this work with fingering held double, but I think he's really cute. I'm really excited about it. My goal this week would, I mean, I had hoped to do a couple more stripes, but I was waiting on these eyes and I didn't want to get too far past that because of where you have to like count to place them. So I am going to hopefully get maybe 10 full stripes done this coming week, like not past this, but 10 in total, and see how that goes. And I am sticking to the pattern with just 5 and 2 between, because I think that otherwise this will grow outrageously, and I didn't want to do 4. And somebody, was like, what if you did like pearl bumps for your 5s? But honestly, I don't rate my books very often, and even though I do have a couple favorites, I'm just gonna do them as is, and revisit those books in my mind as I'm doing them each. I did pick out ahead of time though, like 15 colors. So I thought that was like a pretty good, because I know they fit under my desk and I can just leave them there then. But I thought it was a good way for me to go through yarn and pick a bunch at once and buy color of the covers without having to dig every time I want to start a new stripe. That would be crazy. So that's where we are. The book snake. I would expect him to be this much longer next week, and so we'll just see him grow and grow and grow. And I have no idea how many stripes we'll get this year, but it'll be over 100 because we're already over 100 books. So fun. Thanks for cheering me on, everybody. I appreciate that you just go along with it. I also know that some of you just vicariously live through my crazy decisions, and I appreciate that as well. I think that's fine. That's all the knitting to talk about this week. But I have quite a lot of fiber to talk about this week. So it is Tour de Fleece. I didn't really talk about that last week. I am in a Melly Knits Stash Dashers Instagram chat group. I joined one of people like I don't know that because I've never done it before. A couple of us have never done Tour de Fleece before. My goal for Tour de Fleece this year is to spin every day except for rest days, which I did swap a rest day. I did a rest day yesterday instead of Tuesday because of what I was finishing up to get this done and plied and washed. All of my knits, or all of my spins. I'm going to start a new one today. I also will not probably take a rest day on Saturday, which is the second rest day. Instead, I'll maybe do it on Monday, or I just won't do one the second rest day. We'll see. But I have finished all of that gorgeous, crazy, super colorful yarn. I think my first skein might be this one because it's the most like overplied. You can see those little blue bloops. Honestly, when you start knitting, you can kind of unkink those and it's fine. It's just that there was a little more tension on the nitty knotty, and also I did overply this a little bit. More so that it's not quite balanced. I maybe underspun it a little bit and plied it more than it was spun, so I didn't rebalance as much. But some of these, like this one looks much more balanced. And this one looks pretty good too. So, I mean, there's still a little bit of those kinks. They're just not all over. This was the very end. My gosh, there's a lot of green in this. Green even more prevalent than the yellow. And this skein, for some reason, is just like really much more purple and yellow. Let me open 2 of them to show you which ones. I'll open these 2. Woohoo! You can really tell the color difference though. Like, it's just gonna be a wild mix. I don't know. I'm not decided if I would just do one skein then the next, or if I would kind of helically knit this. It's just so fun though. It's just all of the colors. Sometimes you get like this mask, which I think is why it looks more green, is because I've got a couple bits that are green on green. And so it just reads more green overall. There's like, you know, even just 2 strands that are purple on purple over here, which gives it that more purple look. There's some fully yellow on yellow. And then a lot of it is just mixed. There's like green and blue and red with green and blue with orange and purple with yellow, and you know, like you get just the mix, which makes it like, it just keeps it chaotic and fun. So these are 4 full skeins. Well, I have 2 at least. Like these 2 are quite hefty. I just really filled the bobbin. I wasn't going by any kind of weight or anything, so it was about a pound of fiber. So I, you know, assume I probably lost a little bit of fiber, but about a pound left over. So like really 4 full skeins. And I don't really know how I ended up with like a sport weight, but this is like a kind of a light sport weight by wraps per inch, somewhere between a sport and a light sport for all of the skeins. So I had a thought, and I don't know that I'll stick to it. I might not use this year for, well, I'm definitely not going to use this year for Theo, but I do want to make something for Theo. And somebody's suggestion was do a hoodie, because then it's not next to skin, and this is not that soft. And so maybe next year, maybe the year after. Also just because of sizing, there's no kids version of the hoodie I would love to use is the Traveler, because this is the perfect weight yarn for this. So, I mean, I could make her the smallest size and just, she can wear it as soon as she can fit into it. And maybe I'll do that next year, but then we would have mommy and me matching Travelers, and that would be really fun. But I just feel like this would be the most fun Traveler. It would be just the brightest, like, color craziness happening. And maybe I would reserve, like, start with this skein for the body and go even into like these skeins for the body, and then reserve my most green skein for like the hood or the sleeves even, where it's maybe not the, you know, not the brightest piece right in the middle, but we'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. I need to take some pictures of it and stuff, but that is done. And so that was a big thing to accomplish this week. I had finished almost all of the singles last week, and I finished them before I went to Maya's house for Spin Saturday, and I even spun up 1 full ply. Actually, two full bobbins of ply. I did that like Saturday morning. Mike took Theo to go do some stuff right before I was leaving, so they weren't here, so I just spun on the wheel. Okay. This is the next thing I did. This one is also very colorful, but like muted colors. This one gives me like I don't even know. This is like really like southwesty vibes for some reason. I think it's that mix of the orange and the turquoise, but and like that muted yellow. But this is a pretty balanced skein. This one is looking really nice. But this is my first attempt at long draw. My first true attempt at long draw. I tried it once before with some stuff that Sylvan had given me, which she did not like spinning, which was Finn from last year's flock. Look at that. It looks pretty good. And then I decided that's one of the skills I wanted to learn during Tour de Fleece, knowing that we were going to have this spin weekend. And Maya, who is the first person who taught me how to spin and taught me many of the skills and has since also helped me with some questions and other things, she was doing long draw while we were there, and I think so was Ariel. And so I was like, okay, Katie, same thing actually. Katie was like, let's do a long draw lesson. I was like, well, maybe I said it and then Katie agreed. Either way, we were both like, Maya, please help us. And so Maya very graciously just gave some extra pointers, and I think conceptually I've seen her do it, and I now understand a little bit more what to do with my hands, but I could not. And actually, Emily gave me a really great tip the week before that was like, if you want to practice long draw but you don't feel sure about it, just practice more short backward, which I do sometimes do short backward, but do it very short. I don't do any kind of longer. So I was like, during the week, there was 2 colors in my bright colorfuls that felt like they were maybe a Rambouillet. and they felt better for, like, they just softer and easier for me to do a bit of a short backward. And I was trying to just move my hands a little bit further apart than like the little bit that I normally do. And so I did that, and I was like, oh, okay, this is scary, but not the worst. But I had some questions for Maya, like how to, you know, make it so that, because I kept having like thick and thins more so than, you know, if I'm doing short forward, and how to get some control over that. And also, you know, feet speed and like the like smoothness, and how do you know when to let your apply. So we just had some questions for her in reality, and we were watching her also spin some. And then she watched us also, and then she looked at our yarn a little bit. So it was very, very nice of her. And I felt like I did pretty good. There's definitely thick and thin in this for sure, but overall it's like semi-consistent. So this is my first time. I feel proud about that. This is matching my nails very well this week. Theo and I are wearing the same fingernail color. It's a thing. It's a thing we do now. But yeah, so I'm a big fan. This was from a bat of, I think, Falkland, from Into the World. And it was just like rainbow colored. Like it was red, orange, green, blue, purple across. And then, because it was combed this way, I could only really separate across by colors. And then I just did that into like 3 or 4 parts per color. And then, it was actually more like 6, because I ended up rubbing all of those in half because it was too thick. And then I pre-drafted a little bit, and then I just put them into a bag and just pulled them out and started. And I did almost half the skein just while sitting and knitting together, or sitting and spinning together. And I did the rest, this week sometime. That was Saturday. I might have finished it on Sunday. And then I finished plying and doing some other stuff too, and let this rest for a couple of days. And then I spun it, or then I applied it, and I washed it maybe on Tuesday. So here it is, happy. It's really nice. I like it. I don't know what I'll use it for, but I enjoyed doing it, and that makes it less scary. And something else I want to try, I don't have like a lot of bats or other things. I have a couple other things I could try it with and just like see how I like it. And then, but this is encouraging for flock, for me to get some stuff that I might want, like maybe some bats, which I don't typically gravitate towards because I get a little scared of them. I think bats that don't have a lot of silk in them are really great things to do long draw with. I've never done Rolex. That's something I would look for at flock, but I know that they're really hard to come by. Like they go so fast. And I can make some faux Rolex on my own to practice with too, if I want to. So yeah. And you can do long draw with comb top. You just have to pre-draft a little bit more so it's not sticky, like as sticky. And you're just not going to get as airy of a spin anyway, because the fibers are going in one direction. So they, you know, it's still kind of like a semi-worsted or something spin. So, yeah. Anyway, things for me to know. It goes fast. It goes faster. Oh my God, it's so much faster than short forward. So I would potentially have like a couple things like here, like things that I don't have any real plans for, that if I did do it, like this would be a fun thing to either practice making some faux legs and then practice long draw from those, or just do a super prepped, comb top to do some more long draw practice with, because it was a fun skill to feel like I locked in a little bit, and something I would definitely want to practice, because this does feel like, I think I'm gonna have a lot of yardage, and it feels like really nice. It feels a little bit more airy. It's also not like, I didn't ply this as, I didn't want to lose that airiness. So this is a looser ply than I typically like. I like a little bit more rounded of a yarn. But the next thing I am going to spin is this. This is also Into the World. Maybe these two are maybe my last things from Giselle in my whole stash. Actually, I think from her, there's a little bit of a mohair rambouillet or mohair merino that's like just a dark purple. that maybe she also gifted to me. So I'm very close to being done with the gifted fibers, which is amazing. This is also just a single. This one is also a 40-40-20, which is interesting. It's a 40% merino, 40% superwash merino, 20% silk. The silk is really prevalent. Like you can see how shiny that is even through the bag, like that veining, that's the silk, but it looks nice and blended in. I'm going to do this as a single because I am thinking at some point, possibly, depending on how, dominant the purple actually ends up in this. I think it's not that dominant of a color, and if I do 2 plies of this and then ply them together, traditional 2-ply, I will hold with this BFL Tough Sock from Lobby and Amy, because I just feel like that would be, it uses this color, but you know, like when it's pulled throughout, like I don't think it'll be that bad. I'm going to do a color work. I want to do a fall frolic with this, which is like just a color work yoke from Samantha Guerin. And that's okay also if that's not like the most contrasty of spins, because yeah, it doesn't need to be. It's just like a 1x1 kind of color work. But that does mean I have to spin this a little bit thin because I need it to truly be closer to a fingering weight. I think with the silk, that's going to be fine. So because I will want to, yeah, I'll do this short forward. So I just go back and forth with my practicing of skills. I still have no acquisitions. I would like you to know. I'm just, you know, holding out till flock. There's a couple things I've been eyeing. There have been a couple of great collections that have launched, but I want to use the yarn I have. I want to purchase in person. I want to feel some things. I want to try some new things. So yeah, just keeping it low key over here. Okay, books for this week. The first book I finished this week was A Court of Thorns and Roses, also known as ACOTAR. This is, I mean, arguably her most popular series. This is by Sarah J. Maas. This is number 1. It's like a fake out book, I think. I know there are like many people who read this and they're like not that interested, and then they move on to something else. It's the beginning of Farah's story, and she grows so much. And the second book is like 900 times better than the first book. And not even because the first book is bad, it's just the first book is like, it's like a fake out. So I won't tell you all the things, but this is where we meet Farah Archeron, who is a human living in a world where there's a wall dividing the humans from the Fae, and the Fae have a lot of powers and humans are just humans. And the Fae, both like lesser Fae who are like, could be scary monsters or just not high Fae, and the high Fae who have lots of powers and look like humans but have pointy ears and are immortal or whatever. Okay, so you have quite a power imbalance there, and she does something which forces her to go over the wall or through the wall or whatever, and live with some high Fae. And of course there's like a love story, and it's very much like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, sort of, except really wild things happen about 2/3 of the way through, and you're like, whoa. It's like having the witch in Beauty and the Beast be like really malicious and still involved. You're like, why? I was not expecting that. Yeah, so that happens. It's a little bit dark. I mean, I love this series, and it gets darker for sure. Like, I think the first book is so much her being a sheltered human and just being grateful to be alive and having someone care for her, which she's been the caretaker for her family for a long time. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. Okay, so the second thing I read, well, I'll just go through the second book. I read the second book also, which was A Court of Mist and Fury. I had started the first book to finish this sweater, so I took a little pause, and then I was like reading it with other things. And so I did the second book too, which is where I think the story gets real. And also I love the second book, so I had a great time rereading it. There were a lot of things I forgot though. I was like, oh, right, I totally forgot this whole thing happened. Even to the end of the second book, I was like, how are they going to get out of this? I can't remember. And then I just listened and I was like, oh, right. Okay. So I recommend that series. I know people have feelings about it, but I think it's just like, she does it well for a lot of the things. I think she builds characters you care about besides the main characters. I think she gives main characters actual nuance, which I don't think a lot of authors do. And I think she's far less like repetitive in internal thoughts, partly because she's like really always Sarah J. Maas writes the female characters who keep secrets, and even Farrah keeps secrets, sometimes intentionally, from like the people she's around, so she's trying not to think those thoughts, so you also don't know what's going on or what exactly she's planning, and then she'll kind of reveal, and that's always like fun if you can figure out like what exactly she's like trying to do while she's secret keeping. The next book I read this week, which was the fourth and final from the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lyla Sage, is called Wild and Wrangled. This is the story I was like very looking forward to from the second book, I think, on. This is about Cam and Dusty, and you figure out like what their past story was. There's a little bit of back and forth in history, you know, which I don't love. The thing that I've realized this week that really gets me for these going back and forth in time for these kind of second chance romances, the thing that gets me is that they never complete the thought. They're like, oh, and I'm, you know, I feel so bad about it, right? But like, you don't think like that. You also don't really think like characters where you're like having internally like this big monologue about everything all the time, right? But, or at least I do not think like that. But I definitely don't think about the embarrassing thing and not name the embarrassing thing to myself. And it's how you dwell in your like shame and embarrassment, is that like you think all the way through that thing. So I think that's what gets me, is that it's such a fake out. Like, this is, you would know this thing earlier on. I get it. It's the tension build. It's whatever. But that's what bothers me, because I just feel like that's not reasonable. And I want to know earlier about what the thing is, because I want to judge all of your actions based on that thing, not think about them in retrospect. The last book I read this week was another like westerny romance book that is called, and it's a Canadian western romance, and you know I love Canadian books. I just love like Canadian men. There's something about the like being too nice, especially in these like western things. One of my favorite TV shows ever for like comfort is Heartland. So yeah, I'm definitely a horse girl at heart, which was my first job ever. If anyone was, before I was able to be paid for a job, I cleaned out horse stalls to get riding lessons, because that's what I want to do. Anyway, so this book is called, it's the first of the Wells Ranch series. I'm excited to maybe read others. I thought this was pretty good. This is called Alive in Wells by Bailey Hanna. Never read anything else by Bailey Hanna, and I thought she did a great job. I think there was a serious enough problem. She put this over a longer span of time than a lot of books about falling in love, which I appreciate, because both for the tension build, even though you got snippets, but it was like weeks had passed, or at least days had passed between things, that you're not just like, the tension was 2 days and then they like give into it or whatever. It's like months. This is, though, about a woman who escapes an abusive relationship and finds her place. Like, she's offered a job by somebody on this ranch, and she's like a city girl meets country, right? But she works hard, and they call her ranch wife, which she just does, like, she preps lunches for the ranch hands, and this is supposed to be like a huge property, and like she does gardening, and like they just do other stuff, maintenance stuff on like the farm. So I had a great time reading that. I'm gonna read more. I don't know if like right now, but I'm definitely putting it on the back burner for reading more of those. Okay, that's all for books this week. Let's which I'm really adding to these book snake numbers, y'all. I gotta get going on that. Let's see. I don't have a lot of like cast on plans right now. I want to get through these things that need to be done for Flock. I do have at least one more. Actually, you know what? I really do think maybe I'll cast on this week one of my make 9s. I need to get another one on the needle for me, my own make 9. So I think I'll probably cast on the Alpine Bloom, but if I'm feeling at the moment that I don't want to do, it's either the Alpine Bloom, which is a fingering weight colorwork shirt, which I would really love to have that colorwork to work through as something different. That or a cardigan. And I would probably do the cow cardigan or a hoodie. And I have the no sweatshirt. So it's one of those three. I want all of them, and I want all of them pretty badly. So I don't know which one I'll pick first. I definitely need to cast on my Mila cardigan like before September so I can actually finish it this year. That's the one that I think will take me the longest, if the book club was any indicator. So I need to get through at least one other before that. And so I don't know what I'll pick. TBD. I did wind some yarn for the Alpine Bloom, so that's most likely to jump on the needles, but I might feel a little like fingering weight garmented out right now. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. However I feel this weekend. I think if I finish something or nearly finish something, maybe I'll feel good enough to cast something on. And I do have a small gift knit I want to cast on soon, which is a bit fiddly, but we'll talk about that next week. So let's go through a couple thoughts about flock, and this is our pre-planning. So somebody said, just tell me all the things about flock. Okay, I only really had that one comment, so I just want to tell you a couple of things about how I'm going to prep this year. Flock happens here in Seattle the 8th through the 10th of August. I think maybe even there's classes on the 8th, which is a Friday, and then the 9th and the 10th is when the marketplace is open. The marketplace opens kind of early in the morning. I don't know when, 9, 10, something. I should probably look into actual details at some point. I will do that closer to the date. I know it opens in the morning. I do think that Saturday has masked shopping hours again this year. I think they maybe announced that on their, like when they sold tickets, but I don't remember. Either way, I do hope the air goes in a little earlier, because last year with masks on and a lot of people flooding that space all at once, took a little bit of time for the air to catch up, and it was quite toasty for the first couple of hours in there. But you know, I wore a t-shirt, so it was fine. I will not be I will have a different strategy for bringing stuff with me this year. I think I might just have a sling bag. Depending on when we set our Tori knit picture time, I will maybe have one outfit change with me, just like one t-shirt change. I will come prepared with coffee to wait in line, etc. The line was relatively long last year. I don't know that there's anything I'm going to be like rushing to buy, but I would like to be there for most of the day. So I may be there at start time and stand in line. If so, and regardless, I will have a knit project with me. I will probably have one change of shirt. I will have an extra deodorant, and I might have some touch-up makeup stuff. Otherwise, that's like all I'm going to bring with me. And water, because hydrating is important, and it is hot here in August. I plan to probably eat somewhere near the convention center. There are there are a lot of places downtown. Pike Place is not very far, maybe like a 15-minute walk. Lots of places to eat around there too. I will be driving because I live pretty far north. I could take the light rail. Light rail will drop me pretty close to the convention center. I think just probably because I don't want to deal with that in the morning and I'd have to leave earlier, I will likely drive myself in, and also because we'll carpool from up here. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing after this year. Last year I hosted a barbecue at my house, and I don't know that we're going to be doing that this year. So, but okay. So things to know for flock. I think it is, they have a pretty good system to get everybody in pretty easily. You line up in the downstairs area, like just by the front main doors to the building. I think there's 2 different ones, but they like had funneled the line into one place. There are a couple of lines if you need to buy tickets that day. I don't think they'll be sold out again this year, so you'll likely be able to buy a day of ticket if you need it. You can get when you scan your ticket, you get a wristband for the day. They do like check then also as they funnel you through the people. If you're there during the mask hours, they make sure you have a mask at that point, if not before. And then you go up some big escalators and you go into the main floor, and it's big and open with doors. If you get there before time of, they also had people kind of sneaking a little bit upstairs. So I think the doors opened at, I think they opened at 10 last year is what I want to say. But anyway, whenever they opened, they had people like maybe had started scanning tickets like 15 minutes before or 10 minutes before. So people were like moving up and off the escalator. There was a snaked line of people, and then they opened all the I did not see, at least as of like yesterday, a flock map up yet. So I don't actually know where any of the vendors are going to be this year. They did have printed maps for us last year as well, but they had it online. And so I'm hoping they do that again, so you know where you want to hit. I am prepping this year by not having a lot of plans. People, I think it'll be starting very soon. If it has not, I have not really seen very much. I'm also been doing less social media time recently, but people will post if they're bringing something special for flock. Maybe it's a special colorway, maybe it's like a limited amount of quantity of a special type or base. So you'll start seeing that on Instagram most likely. So once you can check that out, you can decide if there's like booths you want to hit early. But we had one last year where we wanted to hit, and that was Little Fiber Co, because she had a special blend of fiber available. And so I don't know, I actually might highlight some of the fibers so I can see if I can grab bats early if I want to do bat shopping. Knowing also in my mind that I have a lot of fiber and fiber fusion is going to happen next year, and there are lots of bats and other different preps that would be great for me to do some long draw next year. Not that I don't want to do it beforehand, but also like I'm not lacking fiber. It's okay if I do it next year. I don't know that that's going to be like something I must grab. I will honestly likely just be wandering around. I've got already 2 projects in mind where I'd be like, ooh, if I found something for that, I know approximately the weight and the yardage I need for those. And I'll probably put on my phone a note of like 2 or 3 of them. And if I just want tonal, tonal, or this would be okay for the 2 that I'm thinking of right now, are just, I would like to just have a tonal yarn for. And then I'll just wander. I'll see what makes me excited. I think a good strategy, and what we did also for Secret Sheep last year, is we wandered first. If there was something that you were like, oh my gosh, I have to have right now, we bought, but pretty much just wandered most of the first day, maybe bought a couple things in the afternoon. We did a recap at my house. There was also part of our group that hung out at my house. We're only going to be there Saturday, so they had more purchases. But then Sunday, after we slept on it, maybe thought through some more plans, went and bought a little bit more. But definitely it's a little overwhelming, and it's a lot to look at. Like, just overwhelming in that everything is beautiful and you want to buy it all, but also know that that's not practical for your wallet and your space. There's also just like, there's so much to look at and feel. There's over 100 vendors. It's a lot to look at. So I definitely think that'll be my strategy again this year, is kind of just like go up and down all the aisles, stop and say hi to the people I want to say hi to, just wander a little bit, maybe sit and knit. Maybe that's when we'll do our picture and knit with our friends who want to take pictures and knit with us. And then for the knit along, not just to take pictures with us. I mean, if you see me on the floor and you just want to take a picture with me, I'd love to. I'd always love to, of course, that'd be so fun. But I'm also just thinking I want to like, I want to do the round, see what catches my eye, see what colors people have brought. Last year there was a lot of neon happening. I don't know if there'll be something different this year, or if that's going to be like, it was a good mix last year. I mean, there was pastel booths, there were neon rainbow booths, there were some like classic colors, some darker colors, a couple of like the neon booths had also black. So if you're into like that kind of contrast, yeah, really fun stuff. But anyway, I don't know that I have much more for you than that, is that the day starts whenever you want to get there. That's how the beginning works. And then just really like shop, hang out. I think we all talked about this last weekend when we got together, that nobody had any like really firm, oh my gosh, I'm gonna buy all this stuff plans. I have not taken any classes as well. And what I felt like I didn't do as much of last year was just really like hang out and knit. They have this gorgeous like stairs that go, the convention is on second, like the convention floor is on the 2nd floor, but going up to the 3rd floor. And I think the classes maybe a little bit on the 2nd floor and on the 3rd floor. There are these stairs that are gorgeous. They have like this whole view of the city, and a lot of people were sitting and knitting there last year, and I did not. So I will likely at some point go get like an iced beverage and go sit and knit with some friends there. And that seems like a nice thing to do for a little bit and just hang out. Yeah, it was just really fun. It's just a really fun place to meet and see and like touch and feel and smell, and yeah, just all of the good things. Like there were sheep there last year, so you got to smell some of that, but also just like I love the like what wool washes people use. Not that I smell all the yarn, but you can just like smell it walking around. There's definitely like wool washes, notions, there's some mugs, there's some like ceramics and glass and like other things there too if you're not only buying yarn. I did make a comment on a Discord, on like the regular D-Stash Discord this past week, because a couple people had asked, maybe somebody has to, I don't know, like something about non-superwash dyers that would be there, and I'm just going to read you some of the options. This is not all of them by any means. If you know of others that are on the flock list that I didn't list, or the other person didn't list, let me know. So someone had put on like 10 that interested her. So Le Garçon has some local color natural dye. I think that's like what the brand is. I think they were there last year actually. Magpie has a couple non-superwash. Plies and Hellhounds has fiber, and some of these just like her notes has fiber and other things. Ritual Dyes, San Juan Woolworks, Sea Change Fibers, one of my favorites. Wool Dreamers, Wool and Palette, Wool Folk, Yarn Matters, which is natural dyes. Also, I think she has non-superwash bases as well. Little Fox Yarns, and Cesium, who has at least one, according to this, plus some fiber, and I know she has Shanico fiber if she brings that. And then I added to the list Tumalo, who is one of my faves, especially for her tonals. Baliora fibers, which I didn't realize how many non-superwash bases she has. She's got like Shetland, Jacob Romney. That's the one I'm definitely going to check out this year. Sometimes her colors are not exactly my cup of tea, just like a lot more muted palette, which is gorgeous, but like this is not necessarily what I gravitate towards, but I'm gonna see what she brings this year. In Windy Indigo Farm, So Happy Jane, Garthenor, ZZ Textiles, Witchfire Fibers, and Little Fiber Co. all have at least some non-superwash bases. I think all of Lauren's now from Little Fiber Co. are non-superwash. And then Red Stag, who has some really fun milled things. Yeah, so that's just some of them. That is definitely not all of the dyers that even have non-superwash, and that's not all the dyers who are coming. So there are so many options. I think somebody also said a Farmer's Daughter, which I didn't put on my list, but should have, because obviously they have tons of non-superwash bases. But yes, so much to see. I would suggest once they do the map, at least maybe circle a couple that you're most interested in so you don't forget to see them, because it's easy to just like get so distracted and hours go by and suddenly you've realized you've only seen half of the thing. I might do like a quick walkthrough, say some highs, and then go through more slowly. It sort of depends on how the day is. There's a lot of people there too, so that's the thing to contend with. And there's just like, yeah, a little overwhelm. I think it's fine if you go through and you don't buy anything at first. Take a break, go somewhere else, come back in with your wristband because you'll already have scanned in, and then decide. Also, if you're an impulse buyer, maybe just go through and buy what makes your heart happy. I don't know. There's no right answer for festivals. But there is a lot of seating in the inside at round tables that they had last year, at least, with seating and some like convention center food. But there's so many food options nearby. I would not tie yourself to that if you feel comfortable walking around and finding something else. We've got a lot of poke bowl places. There's a poke bowl place really close to the convention center. There's plenty on your way to Pike Place. There's tons of Asian food around here. We've got like ramen places. There's there's just so many options. I mean, we have more Asian places than anything else in Seattle, especially downtown. But like, go to the market, you can get some like samples if you're not feeling super hungry but you want some snacks. Yeah, so I would suggest you have fun. If you have any specific questions, let me know. I am so excited to see everybody there. I will let you know if I make any other actual plans, but I think right now I'm kind of gonna play it fast and loose with like a little bit of like list of a couple things that I might be interested in, and just to see what speaks to me while I'm there. And if I buy like little to nothing, then I'm okay with that. That's not a wasted event for me. That's still like a really amazing and fun time getting to spend time with the best people in the world, which is our fiber community. So if you see me there though, I'm gonna remind you of this every week. Please say hi to me. I am very friendly. I want to take a picture with you if you want to take a picture. I want to, just say hi and chat with you for a little bit. And yeah, I care. I care about you. Hopefully as much as you care about me. So Let's be friends in real life. I gotta sign off now and do some life things, but thank you for hanging out with me and catching up. Please take care of your bodies, get up, move around, do some stretching, and I hope that you had a really fun time doing whatever fiber craft you were today. I will talk to you next week.